He stood, blood trickling from his lip, staring at the Nomu like it was puzzled he hadn't figured it out yet. I can't match his strength. Not directly, he muttered, crossing one set of fingers, then the other. So I won't. He stomped twice. One barrier formed under the Nomu's feet, lifting it. Another shot from the side, knocking it off balance. Then another appeared from above, hammering it down like a falling door. Whatever that means. The Nomu crashed to the floor, not only out but stunned for a split second, enough for Deku to charge forward, slamming a panel under his foot and launching himself like a bullet, knee first into the Nomu's gut. It staggered. He landed, creating a cage of barriers around it. It flailed inside like a rat in a jar. Stay down. But the Nomu didn't. It flexed, muscles bulging. It shattered the cage in an instant. Deku's eyes widened. Of course it regenerates, he whispered, stepping back. This thing isn't just strong. It's built to kill All Might. Right on cue, a gust of wind slammed through the plaza. A blur of red, white, and gold arrived at the center stage. All Might landed like a meteor, cape blowing, eyes burning. I am here. Deku sighed with relief. He didn't lower his stance. He watched All Might and the Nomu stare each other down. You okay, young Midoriya? All Might called without looking. Better now, Deku grinned, dragging a thumb across his lip, limping a little bit, and clapping. The clap of air pressure doing some internal damage. All Might smiled at Deku before his eyes locked onto the Nomu. Deku sat down, Aizawa picking him up and bringing him up the stairs, cancelling the Nomu's quirk in the meantime. From above, All Might jumped, slamming down in front of the quirkless Nomu and dispatching it easily. Deku watched on. Nothing could rival that strength, blinking in and out of unconsciousness before finally going to sleep. He wakes up in the nurse's office, asking what happened and getting a rundown version. Deku overused his quirk for one and had internal damage for two. He's lucky he didn't sustain any more damage, or he could have been hurt. Deku thanks the nurse before walking out of his mum's car. Then, them chatting on their way home before chilling and watching a movie together. The sports festival, the pinnacle of every first year's shot at stardom. The stage where future heroes are made and reputations are absolutely shattered. And this time, it was Deku's turn to step in the spotlight. After the chaos of the USJ, the media was all over Class 1A, calling them the trauma class, or the next generation, depending on which station you were watching. While the other students might have been nervous, biting their nails, or shaking in their support gear, Deku was chilling, legs crossed, eyes half lit, sitting on the bench like it was just another Tuesday. His mind wasn't racing with doubt, it was focused, centered. Because for once, this wasn't about Bakugo, or proving he wasn't useless. It was about him, Zuko Midoriya, and what he could do with this dumbass fruit ball power that everyone used to laugh at. They step out onto the track. Midnight calls for silence, spinning the wheel and calling for the start of the first challenge, the obstacle course. Deku doesn't take the lead, not immediately. This was never his plan. Instead, he let Todoroki and Bakugo charge ahead, lets the mines go off, lets people elbow each other in a mad rush of quirks and chaos. Meanwhile, he moves smart, calculated, barriers under his feet like stepping stones, forming one after the other midair so he doesn't touch the ground at all. He literally floats through the chaos, bouncing on the platforms like Mario Galaxy. A robot tries to grab him, boom, barrier to the neck. Narrow bridge over a canyon, he doesn't even touch it. He straight up walks on a curved barrier track like a monorail made of glass. By the time they're at the minefield, he's in the middle of the pack. Todoroki and Bakugo are still fighting it out ahead, trying to prove whose dad is cooler. Sorry, what the fuck? Why the hell did I put that in? Sorry, my bad. And Deku just takes a deep breath, slamming his foot down and launching himself onto one of the mines using a trampoline-style wall beneath it, shooting past like a damn cannonball. 4th place. He didn't win, but he didn't need to. He made it look easy, casual, and more importantly, he saved the good stuff for later. Then came the cavalry battle, which I'm going to skip. Then the real games begun. The 1v1 tournament. This is where Deku shines. This is where he finally shows that his quirk, yeah, it's not just for defense. It's not just hiding behind walls. It's a weapon. And today he's going to prove it. Round 1. He steps up against some speed type from the general studies. The kid rushes in, zigzagging like a bullet, thinking he can outpace Deku's reaction. Big mistake. Deku stomps, crossing his fingers and slamming a wall. An elastic panel forms behind him, timed just right so when he throws a punch forward, the recoil kicks off the back panel like a springboard, launching his fist forward with double the force. The punch doesn't even land. The air pressure alone knocks the kid out cold. Everyone watching goes wild. Was that just a punch? Isaiah squints. No, he rebounded the force. He's weaponizing the barriers. All Might smiles. He's improving faster than I expected. Round 2. He fights the steel guy with the steel hardening quirk. I forgot his name. Him trying to tank Deku head on. Dumb move. Deku steps in closer than he should, like he's about to get decked. Then, mid-swing, he forms a mini shield on his knuckles, concentrating and pointing like knuckle duster made out of pure energy. He jabs once, twice, and the third one sends the guy flying out of bounds. That's the trick. He's not throwing full body haymakers, just flicking, using the panels like pistons, like a slingshot, short, sharp, and burst with insane output. He's turned the defense into a striker's dream. Semis, he finally gets Todoroki. Fires to the left and fires to the right. Pressure off the charts. Everyone holding their breath, but Deku, he doesn't flinch. He walks forward through the snowstorm like a breeze, panels deflecting every shard of ice, turning the terrain into a checkerboard of bouncer pads and angle blocks. Todoroki lights up the field with flames, but the heat just warps harmlessly around Deku's dome. Eventually, Deku makes it to the center stage, spins midair and forms a bunch of panels under his feet. Begins slamming a kick right into Todoroki's gut again. Not the leg doing the work, but the recoil panels behind it, like a shotgun kick. Todoroki coughs up air and collapses, the crowd losing it. Even Endeavor is stunned. Deku beating the fire and ice quirk with basically an invisible trampoline and a pair of cross fingers. The finals is Bakugo. But you already know how that goes. Deku straight away not even messing around, pushing Bakugo right out of bounds, slamming him with an invisible barrier from the front and above to make sure he touches the floor. From there, class is buzzed, Deku trending all over the internet for his quirks usage, and surprisingly, simple quirk being taken to the extremes where he could even beat Endeavor's son. Everyone wanted Deku to train, Deku looking at his stack of internships before picking one. Not even he would have expected. Miyako. Her seeing the way he could use his quirk gave her ideas. He could be the perfect training partner. He accepts and they take a train to her place, looking around before meeting her. They talk for a minute, Deku explaining his quirk in detail. Miyako's excited to hear this. His quirk can tank that much damage? They begin training right away. Deku training his reaction time and countering attacks while using his shield, and Miyako training on her endurance and power, punching and kicking borderline unbreakable walls. This goes on for days, Deku and Miyako just constantly training the whole time. Through this, both of them get crazy strong. Deku being able to summon... This goes on for days, Deku and Miyako just constantly training the whole time, though this time they get both strong. Deku being able to summon his shields without slamming his foot down or crossing his fingers now, and Miyako being even stronger than in canon. This goes on until they receive the news of his classmates passing. Ida had gone out for revenge and got stabbed by Stain, dying in the alleyway in Hosu as they trained. Deku can't believe it at first. How could this even happen? But then reality sets in. Him getting advice from Miyako and being sent back to UA. They mourn for a little bit before the class would once again return to normal. Well, about as normal as it could be after that. They then thrusted again into another big event, this time it being the final exams. Deku's low-key nervous about this, and he needed to study more. Who knows what they could pull. For a week or so after, he continues to train like he did with Miyako, consistently spamming barriers, sharpening them into new things like Green Lantern. This goes on until the final day of the exams come. I said I was going to do the pack portion in the last part. I'm going to be real, I'm not. Deku would probably just make a barrier around himself and, walk right through it anyway. So anyways, they hop onto the bus leading to the final camp. Deku reading a nice little book, actually as they go. People chatting around him. Deku picks up on some of the conversations, but never interjects. This would be until Aizawa tells everyone to hop off. Everyone confused does so, walking out the door of the bus, looking over the mountainous regions in front of them. Deku puts the book down, taking a look, seeing a little building in the distance, barely noticeable. He squints, looking at it before Aizawa. Aizawa met his gaze and grinned, one of the cats putting her hand on the floor and pushing them right off the edge with her dirt quirk. Everyone screams until Deku puts a barrier below them with a big enough one to stop their falling. They slowly go down like a big elevator and reach the bottom. Deku points them to the direction of the camp. I kind of figured this would happen. It's over this direction. They all nod and start running as fast as they can, the ground's shaking as the monsters pour from the forest to attack them. Deku crosses his fingers and surrounds the entire class in a huge field. People looking around and Deku complaining, and Bakugo complaining, though he learns to be a good little boy and stay put. They make their way to the training grounds and his entire way, the entire way. Like, even if Aizawa was told about it by the cats, there's no way they could break it, and there's no way she's breaking it. They make it to the camp, eating and having fun as Deku's pulled aside. They reprimand him for cheating in the class in the forest, and due to this, he's sent to do an all-out cleaning for the class. They have a swim as he does this. The first day would arrive, them doing some training with Class 1B, Deku working on making stranger and more complex shapes for offensive and defensive works. Unbreakable cuffs, big hammers, etc. He's turning into a little green lantern. This continues for both days actually, Deku also fighting Aizawa from time to time, as this goes on until the third and final day. Now, Deku and the other class are set up to do a haunted forest walk, and the other class is in their positions already, and Class 1A is about to go in. Deku was paired up last, so he goes in alone, looking around and see a small bit of smoke. Confused, he lifts himself above the tree line, seeing someone floating there with things sticking from his mouth. Deku, confused, goes back down before rushing to the teachers. He tells them something's up before rushing right back to the same spot, gliding over the trees before a man notices him, blade shooting right towards Deku and curving with every bounce. Deku puts a barrier out, rushing forward as he gets in close. The blades ricochet off the barrier, slamming into the trees and more trees. Deku pulls more forward, the villain mumbling to himself about flesh and blood. Deku's grossed out by this and would decide to end it, making a barrier around him, his blades snapping right away as Deku picks him up, juggling him a little bit before slamming him against the floor 2 or 3 times just to make sure. He thinks for a second, looking over the villain. There's gotta be more. It's just not him. Before it hits him. Koda. I kind of forgot to go on the Koda backstory, so let's just say Deku met him while he was doing dishes on night 1. They had a little chat, and Koda letting it slip, in conversation he eats on the mountaintop. Deku right away looks in that direction, rushing over full speed, putting 2 barriers on his feet and legitimately flying. Full speed. He sees Koda sitting there and eating as a huge man in a cloak lingers behind him, smile on face, hand clenched and about to hit. Deku put his hand out as a barrier appears on Koda, muscular slamming his fist down and meeting the barrier would straight away break his arm. Looking at it, wincing at pain before looking around, almost going feral, slamming his body weight, kicking and thrashing the barrier trying to get at Koda. Deku finally making it there would see the man. All these guys were sickos, trying to kill a kid, and this desperately? Deku looks at the man he just thrashed about, shaking his head and closing his fist. A second barrier slamming skin tight on Muscular like an armor suit, trapping him into a single position as Deku walks in closer. He begins talking to Muscular, trying to get into his head, before he hears explosion behind him, followed by an ice wall. Distracted, Deku decides to end it once more, grabbing Muscular and slamming him into the floor in the still armor. Using him like a nail and his other barrier like a hammer, slamming him deep underground and releasing his grip. Muscular stuck about 30 meters underground, screaming frantically as Deku grabs Koda and dips, making his way to where the explosion came from. He looks around, a little blood on the floor, a trail of ice leading out to the forest, and then nothing. He meets with Todoroki, he looks distraught. They got him. They got Bakugo. They got Bakugo. Deku's eyes widen. Bakugo. They captured Bakugo? What do you mean? He's frantic, rushing around the place. He finds the teachers, asking if they've seen him. Nothing. They search the area, but all the villains have left, along with Bakugo. Deku takes this bad, going into a depression. If he wasn't so busy playing whack-a-mole, he could have saved Bakugo. This is his fault. He sits completely motionless on the bus ride home. getting to his house and laying face down on the bed. Inka comes into his room, seeing the way he's reacted after hearing the news. She knocks and begins talking. Sweetie, I know this is hard for you. This shouldn't have to happen to anyone. Deku rolls over, facing the wall as Inko begins to close the door. It's about to close before she stops herself, taking a deep breath in and opening it wide once more. I know how strong you are. For this one time, I'll push my feelings aside. You shouldn't have to sit there in the dark as someone you know gets offed somewhere doing God's no... sit here in the dark as someone you know is off somewhere doing God's knows what. Deku turns to face her, the lights in the kitchen hurting his eyes a little bit. Your teachers are about to talk about what happened on the news right now. Come with me. Deku gets up and goes to the kitchen, seeing a broadcast with Aizawa and the UA faculty in suits on the news. Deku's eyes go wide, looking at the screen in the bottom right, seeing the raid on Kamino Ward happening right now. He sees the location card for half a second and starts booking it, rushing right out of his house and flying, not caring about public quirk usage, right to where Bakugo was. He flies and flies for about 5 minutes, hearing huge explosions in the distance as he finally makes it there, hiding on the rooftop and looking down. A man looking at his hand floats there as people begin to appear from nowhere, sludge coming from their mouths. He watches on, Bakugo coming on too, looking around into a defensive stance. Deku then hears a thundering footstep coming from the left, turning his head as All Might rushes into action, slamming All For One with a punch and being caught, struggling for power to overtake him. Deku, watching this, is shocked. Who is this guy? How is he holding back All Might? The air becomes heavy as All Might is knocked back, All For One holding his hand out, expanding and twitching as he charges up an attack. Deku sees Bakugo still defenseless in the way of the explosion. He has to do something. Not even thinking, Deku holds out both hands, closing his eyes and focusing as hard as he could. 10 layered green walls surround All For One's hand and arm, stopping in the shoulder as they compress like they don't muscular. Bakugo and All Might look on in shock. What the? They're cut off. All For One can't react in time. The barriers compressing his arm down would release his stored quirks. A huge explosion going off. The barriers stretching and sticking to his arm as it blows outwards before slamming right back down again. Deku coughs a little blood, panting heavily. He'd never felt anything like that before. He looks down, looking on as All For One's arm is completely gone. All For One looks pissed, looking around the battlefield for who did it. All Might capitalizing would land the final blow, ending All For One for good. Before the rest can escape, Deku in a last-ditch effort surrounds them with barriers. They all slam on them, trying to get it as free as they're rounded up into one and taken into prison. That's pretty much it. Deku going from there to meet Miriko, hearing good things and introducing himself to Night Eye, who takes him on. They go for the overall... Oh my god, sorry. They go for the overhaul case and meet him like in canon down the alleyway. This time, Deku reacting right away, making a barrier on all of them and lifting overhaul into the air. If he's in the air and he's in a barrier, like his quirk is completely void. They take Eri to the hospital and overhaul to prison, raiding the base in the same afternoon and arresting them. All wraps. Hope you like this. The end was a little bit rushed, I'm going to be real, and I want us to do something different. But I do have final exams for uni going on right now, and I'm kind of on a crunch. So please like, subscribe, and comment. And please check out my Spotify. It's only new. It's got legitimately everything on YouTube except for you can watch it with your screen off. Ooh. Hope you like this. I'm gonna go. Catch ya.